Japan is planning to fast-track the use of antiviral drug remdesivir to treat COVID-19 patients. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe could approve the medication as early as next month. Japan can permit the drug to be used without conducting domestic tests, provided it has been approved in another country. The drug was originally developed to treat Ebola. Preliminary results from an international clinical trial of remdesivir are expected in 2 weeks' time. In India, one firm claims a COVID-19 vaccine could be available in the market as early as September. The Serum Institute has teamed up with Oxford University, where human trials of a vaccine began last week. The company plans to start production at the end of May. It will begin selling the vaccine as soon as clinical trials prove it to be successful. The institute plans to manufacture 5 million doses per month for the first 6 months and will make it affordable at only $13. Now, for a closer look at potential COVID-19 treatments and vaccines, we're joined by Dr. Annalise Wilder-Smith. She's from the Lee Kong Chan School of Medicine at Nanyang Technological University and joins us live from Geneva. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Firstly, as we just mentioned, several companies are developing potential COVID-19 drugs. Are there any major contenders in your eyes?
Unfortunately, to date, we don't have a real contender. Various drugs are being evaluated, and that looked initially very promising in the laboratory, but then that did not translate into clinical protection when tested in patients. And this included hydroxychloroquine, and Calitra, and possibly now also remdesivir. So the trial results for remdesivir will be released, as far as I understand, will be released next week. Until we have proven efficacy in clinical trials, we should not really use them. So WHO is running a solidarity trial where they're doing head-to-head comparisons of various drugs, of promising-looking drugs, and it's an adaptive trial design, so where you can add new drugs as they come along with the same trial design.
So, Dr. Wilder-Smith, saying that, then why is Japan then in a rush to actually deploy remdesivir?
I think every country should wait for the results of the published efficacy trial.
But Japan's obviously not waiting. It's going to fast-track the use of antiviral drug remdesivir, which, as you mentioned there, it failed, and it was actually a leaked document on WHO. Do they know something that we don't know?
Well, then I would not know either. So I warn against rushing into any drugs. There was a mistake, as you know, with the hydroxychloroquine, where initial preliminary studies looked promising. And as a result, people then used it. And then it turned out it was not only not helping, but even increasing deaths or complications.
Dr. Wilder-Smith, a few countries have begun plasma therapy trials. To your mind, how effective is this kind of treatment?
I do have hopes for convalescent serum. So the rationale behind it is that those patients who have survived, who have overcome COVID infection, now have antibodies. And this is then given to patients now fighting the virus in the hope it will suppress the virus. Now, again, we need very carefully conducted trials before we make any recommendations. And indeed, such trials are going on, multi-center trials in various countries. And I do have hope, but to date, we have no data.
Well, so from the drugs to potential vaccine, the global race to find this COVID-19 vaccine is also underway. In fact, we just reported that an Indian firm says that one can be ready by September. China says it could have a vaccine ready by early next year. Are these developments promising? Do you know? I mean, or should we be just concerned that scientists are just now rushing to get this out?
So there's indeed an international race to come out with a vaccine. More than 100 vaccines are in preclinical development, and more than 5 are now in human trials. That means in phase 1 trials. And there are several candidates and also several platforms. And it's important to work on several platforms as we need several vaccines at a time. So the Oxford vaccine has finished their animal studies and had very good results in the animal studies. And now in April, they just started their phase 1/phase 2 trial in the UK and other parts of the world. And they are working together with the institute that you mentioned in India for ramping up, for scaling up in case this vaccine is successful. So the idea is we go in parallel. We take risks, but we have to go in parallel to make sure that we have a vaccine out there very soon.
I want to ask you a question for you. Given the speed that things are moving with this sort of hunt for this vaccine, if it is to be available in September, is there any concern or is there any sort of danger to assume that its efficacy doesn't come with its own risks down the road?
So you cannot roll out a vaccine without having proven efficacy. So September is very optimistic. I think we need to be more, we have to have a guarded optimism and work forward. Safety, we should not take any shortcuts. So safety must be shown. And therefore, I do think it may take longer than just September.
Thanks very much for your time this evening. Dr. Anneliese Wilder-Smith from Lee Kong Chan School of Medicine at Nanyang Technological University.